Hello, I'm Eric Snodgrass. Thank you for watching this Ag Forecast brought to you by Agrible, the makers of Morning Farm Report. Our software gives growers the insights to make the best decisions possible about their operations. Well, while you're looking at this map, which shows the last 7 days of accumulated precipitation, I have to apologize for the sound of my voice. You see, I coach both a kindergarten soccer team and a 3rd and 4th grade girls soccer team, and my teams were absolutely fantastic this weekend, so I lost my voice just cheering them on Saturday. So I apologize, but here we go. The last 7 days have been quite interesting. We've had some very, very heavy rainfall events in the south central plains, while part of the Corn Belt was really left quite dry for a lot of folks in through here. So we're going to take a close look at this. The first thing I want to show you this is some nasty storms that went through Kansas several days ago. This is a radar animation from kind of west central Kansas near the towns of Moreland, Park, Quinter, and you can also see Wakini down here in the bottom left-hand corner. Now you see that region in the middle there where we see those really bright purples and pinks? That is 80 dBz reflectivity and higher. Now, whenever you see radar reflectivity values that high, you better believe there's some big time hail, and that's what they got. Here are some pictures that just show you the hail damage across a few cars here. Absolutely incredible. I really like this one, which shows a truck just beat to pieces by those hailstones. Given the size of these stones, the fall velocities were somewhere in the neighborhood of about 150 to 180 miles an hour. And so, of course, they'll just smash the glass and smash the roof. Now, this is neat from a scientific perspective. Look at the hailstones that are in the seat and the hailstones that are on the floor here. What's neat about this, you can actually see both the dry and the wet growth regime that some of these hailstones went through. So while this is a lot of destruction from a scientific perspective, it's very, very neat to check out. Now, while I was recording this video late on Sunday night, I saw some fantastic storms that were going through parts of the Panhandle of Texas. These storms in a 2-hour time period produced over 10,000 lightning strikes. But why I call them fantastic is there's a really awesome learning point that you can all take away from this. First, you can see this line of very light reflectivity, okay, right in through here. That's the outflow of the thunderstorms. On that little fine line you see right through here, we actually develop what's called the shelf cloud. It's a really amazing type of cloud, and it's a good warning cloud to tell you that nasty storms are nearby. You also see the very classic bookend vortex. That's this feature right back here on the back side of this storm on the kind of the right side here. So this was a classic mesoscale convective system, one that we've been studying for a long time, trying to understand its most severe and damaging aspects. My point is that, boy, the plains have been lit up with some nasty severe weather over the last 7 days. Now let's step back and look at this bigger picture though. We've been discussing how the south central plains, getting over into Colorado, even into New Mexico, all the way across Texas, Oklahoma, getting back through the southeast, we're going to be experiencing a wet week. We've been discussing that for quite some time. We've even had quite a bit of showers and thunderstorm activity in parts of the Dakotas, which is great to kind of help them finish the season, which has been very tough due to the struggle with drought. But because of some northerly flow and some drier air that moved in behind a trough, parts of Iowa, northern Missouri, big chunks of Illinois, Wisconsin, Indiana, Ohio did see a pretty dry last 14 days. Now, this isn't going to be bad for everybody, except for those folks that also had a really dry time throughout the month of July. So it's very important that we take a look forward to see what precipitation is going to look like throughout this week, because it could bring some changes. So here we go. We're going to animate the GFS run from late in the afternoon on Sunday, which was the latest run that was available to me late in the evening on Sunday night. I paused it here, but I want to take a step back. Let's get into early Monday. By the time we get into, early Monday, getting into Monday midday, we're going to be watching the development of a low-pressure system coming out of this part of the Rocky Mountains. And it's going to take a track on Tuesday and into Wednesday. It's going to go across parts of Nebraska, into parts of Iowa, maybe skirt through parts of Minnesota, up into Wisconsin, into the Great Lakes. Significance of that is as that system moves through, you can see that the GFS model is pretty excited about putting quite a bit of precipitation across that same area that was quite dry. So what this tells me is that we got a pretty high chance of seeing some shower and thunderstorm activity across that region that has been quite dry. As we stretch this out, you can even see that those same states that have been very wet down here in the south central plains are looking at having a wet next 10 days as well. This forecast is supported by the long-range forecast by the European model. You can see the wetter conditions in through parts of Kansas, Missouri, Oklahoma, and Arkansas. But you can also see where that low is going to track here. Parts of Nebraska, South Dakota, Minnesota, and parts of Iowa and Wisconsin are getting some rain, as is north central Illinois. One big difference, though, is the latest run from the ECMWF did have this section of Iowa a little bit drier. But remember, eastern Iowa was not struggling with the precipitation nearly as badly as western Iowa was. So overall, we see that a certain amount of rain is going to be coming through the Corn Belt. Keep a very close eye on the radar as this comes through so you can see, who does get the rain and who doesn't. Of course, we'll keep this updated when we do our next update on Thursday. Now, we know that the first 12 days of the month have been very cold, but I just want to show you how cold it's been compared to average. In fact, it's been more pleasant than I think anybody would call it cold. This color shading in here represents colder than 6 degrees, cooler than average. In some spots, been much cooler than that. A lot of rain falling into this area. So our bigger question is what does the pattern look like throughout the rest of August? Are we going to continue to see the cooler weather? And what's kind of the important players in the flow of the jet stream? And that's what brings us to this animation. Now, I'm going to let this play all the way out for the next 10 days. And what I want to do is I'm going to step through it kind of piece by piece. Some interesting things have happened in the Western Pacific. We've had a few big tropical cyclones that are actually getting absorbed into the mid-latitude flow. So basically they came through here, and now they're getting absorbed into the flow of the jet stream, which is eventually going to come to the United States. Now, what's the significance of that? The significance is that every time that occurs, it basically perturbs the jet stream and prevents it from getting blocked up. And what that means is as we move into, here we go, into Monday and into Tuesday, we're going to see that we have a lot of features in the jet stream. Look, we have a trough here in the Bering Sea, a small ridge that's kind of going in the Gulf of Alaska, but then a trough out west, a small ridge in the central part of the states. But this is all ahead of that low pressure system that's coming out of the central states. As I continue to move forward with this, what I want you to pick up on is that the pattern tends to resist getting blocked, and that's good. A blocked pattern leads to drought, it leads to flood, it leads to the adverse weather. As it continues to move, that's one of our better benefits of having a more active jet stream, is that you resist those things. Now, one thing we are seeing is that maybe we might have a few days here as we get into, the 19th, 20th, and 21st, where there's kind of a broad ridge across the central states. This has been showing up in several model runs. That may bring a couple of days of above average temperatures, but that's not going to be that big of a deal this late in August, as it would have been maybe at the end of July. And then look what's lined up behind it. There's a trough in the Gulf of Alaska. There's a trough in the Bering Sea, and basically those things just keep coming through. So my story behind showing you this is that we have a pattern that is resisting in the short term, getting blocked up in terms of not sending through, these low pressure centers in the flow of the jet stream. So that's a good feature as we move toward the end of August. So adding all of that together and taking a look at our long-range European model forecast, this was issued on the 10th of August, which is just a couple days ago before I made this video. And it's looking at the whole end of August and the first 11 days of September in terms of temperature anomalies. We're seeing a continuation of this model picking up on that cooler pattern overall. Now, how do you interpret this? Is this leading to an early frost? Well, we're going to talk more about that very, very soon as we approach those first frost dates. But what I want you to see here is that this tells me that the chances of having prolonged above average temperatures for almost all of the U.S. growing regions, save the Pacific Northwest, is going to be very, very low. In fact, we can also look at this in terms of precipitation. Now again, the model was picking up on some of the heavier rains we just had, but it's also seeing that this pattern stays wet here. What I want you to take away from this map, again, which shows the precipitation anomalies forecast out in the next 32 days, is that while it is picking up on a wetter pattern for the central states, this is not in the same position that it was in 2016. Remember, our record bean crop of 2016 was because of the extremely wet conditions we had right here where I'm circling with the cursor. So this year is a little bit different, but this certainly means that our bean crop is not going to be moving into some major stressful time periods, at least over the next month, as foreseen in some of our long-range models. Now, where could the stress come from? Well, it could be coming from the tropics if we do get any. Right now we have Tropical Storm Gert, who is going to stay clear from the United States, so this is not going to be a major player for agriculture in the U.S. What I am getting concerned about is we've been watching a lot of thunderstorm activity roll off of the west coast of Africa. And right now here, the Cape Verde Islands, We have a group of tropical thunderstorms that has a really good chance of continuing to develop as it moves across what we call the main development region. Conditions are very, very good for this system to continue to move and grow and strengthen. There is an enormous amount of uncertainty as to whether this system will kind of follow the flow of the big subtropical high, which is here, or if it stays far enough south to cut across parts of the Lesser Antilles, maybe moving over parts of Puerto Rico into Cuba. And if it takes this route, we have to watch it as it goes into the Caribbean and Gulf. Now, this is 10, maybe 12, 15 days away, but that doesn't matter. We have to keep a close eye on these systems, as once they get into the Gulf, they can very easily turn to the north, come right up the gut of Mississippi and cause problems. Now, I'm just saying that all as a what if. We got to just keep our eye on the tropics this time of year, because it can turn a great crop into one that we have a hard time harvesting, and that's an important key to be watching as we move forward. I'll keep you updated on this on our next video on Thursday. So with that, I'll wrap things up. We hope you look forward to Agrible's next ag forecast on Thursday. Hopefully by then I have a much clearer voice. But to get Morning Farm Report for your operations, complete with a daily email that shows a snapshot of your field conditions each morning, go to morningfarmreport.com. Sign up for that free account. Full grower accounts are free if you sign up for our Sustainable Yield program or for growers who work with the ADM merchandisers. Thank you so much. We'll talk to you again on Thursday.